G'day, my name's Kym Keady. I'm the Director of Ignite Youth here in Brisbane, Australia. And today we're going to be talking about youth ministry and the call to evangelisation. I'm going to try and fit all this great stuff in a short period of time, so I'm just going to get straight into it. The first question I want to answer is, what is the universal call and mission of the church? So if we go back to Vatican II's document, Lumen Gentium, it's very clear and it teaches that the foundation of the church is Jesus Christ himself. And continuing Jesus' work is the purpose and call of the church's very existence. So intrinsic to our Catholic belief is that the church is a sign for the world. And part of our baptismal call for us as Christians is to reveal Jesus Christ to the world. That is so exciting. I get so excited about that. In Lumen Gentium 1, it says, the church desires to unfold more fully to the faithful of the church and to the whole world its own inner nature and universal mission, which is to reveal Jesus, to evangelize, if you like. Now, of course, the church is an institution that is 2,000 years old. 2,000 years of history, culture, and tradition surrounding it. But we as a church are not static. We're constantly moving and asking questions. How can we change and grow and adapt to the world that we find ourselves in to be the best evangelizers we possibly can? There's this awesome quote by Father Jameson that I really love. It's from the UK, and he says, "In engagement with the world then, the church is both benefactor and beneficiary. The church hears its own good news more fully in proclaiming it and learns the implications of its own preaching by listening to the world." How cool is that? That when we proclaim the good news, we're reminded of it again. And when we see the change that happens in the world, we are then impacted and remember how awesome the message of Jesus is. I love that. So it would seem that the church becomes all it's meant to be when we engage with and learn from the world that we find ourselves in. And this is good news. So there's this awesome quote that says, this generation of believers is responsible for this generation of souls. It's a big responsibility. So what is the answer to that question? What is the call and mission of the church? Well, to evangelize. So how do we personally answer this call? And how do we do that as youth workers? How do we do that as youth leaders in the church right now? If we look at Matthew 4:18-22, it looks at how Jesus calls his disciples to enter into the mission with him. And it seems pretty easy, actually. It says, as Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. "Come follow me," Jesus said, "and I will send you out to fish for people." At once they left their nets and followed him. And it doesn't just stop there. Then he goes on to say he found two other brothers, James and John. They were in a boat with his father Zebedee, preparing their nets. Jesus called them, and immediately they left their boats and their father and followed him. Man, wouldn't it be great if it was that easy? If we could just say to someone, hey, come check this out. And all of a sudden, their whole lives, they literally drop everything that they're doing right at that moment. And they're so convinced by our message or by what we said that their lives are instantly changed. Well, sometimes that actually does happen. Sometimes it doesn't, and it takes a bit longer. And I want to talk about that a little bit more in this talk. We have a core statement in our youth ministry, Ignite Youth, and we call it real world evangelisation. It means that we want to share the gospel in a way that's real and relevant to our current culture. We're not changing the message. The message of Jesus is unchangeable and the best message out there. We're changing the way we communicate the message so that the world can hear it better. In my experience of evangelisation, both personally and in youth ministry, I found three things are absolutely essential. And I want to open up those three things for you. Encounter with Jesus, authentic relationships, and relating to current culture. So let's get into those things. So the first thing is, if we're going to evangelise effectively, we need to create or help these young people have an encounter with Jesus. We need encounter with Jesus. And you know, Pope Francis is talking about this a lot, but not just him, but popes before him. And there's so many quotes about the importance for an encounter with Jesus Christ, a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And I've just chosen one that Pope Benedict said in his message for young people at World Youth Day in 2010. He said, "Christian faith is not only a matter of believing that certain things are true, but above all, a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. It's an encounter with the Son of God that gives energy to the whole of our existence. Even if you just stop and remember the moment when you absolutely realized that Jesus was real. Maybe it was a moment, or maybe it gradually dawned on you across your lifetime. But when you realize that Jesus Christ is real and that you can have a personal relationship with him, everything changes. In the old days of youth ministry, I can say that because I'm a little bit older, but there's a model that we went with, which was a social youth group. That if we just create a positive atmosphere, then maybe they'll pick up, personal relationship with Jesus and everything will be great. Well, the model of the social youth group has shown not to work. The fruits don't last. They actually need an encounter with Jesus Christ. And it's up to us as youth leaders to help them meet Jesus, to introduce them, if you like, to Jesus, to meet him. And this is a good thing, because when someone encounters Jesus, he does the rest. He does the transformation. And in Ignite Youth, we work really hard to create an atmosphere, an environment for them to encounter Jesus. Jesus does the rest. We just set up stuff. We create an opportunity for them to meet Jesus. When we have our Ignite conference, you might have heard about it, our national flagship event, Ignite Conference, we often have a moment where people get to share how they experienced the conference. And often the language they use is, before conference, I felt like this. During conference, I had an encounter with Jesus, or there was this time when ... And then they say, and now I feel ... That's evidence, that little formula there is evidence that they have encountered Jesus. I want you to stop and ask yourself this question. Where in your youth ministry do you have a dedicated, set-aside strategy for your young people to encounter Jesus? It is the best message. It is the good news. And this is ultimately our call as youth leaders, to help them meet Jesus and encounter Jesus and have a personal relationship with Jesus. Amen? All right, number 2, what we need is authentic relationships. If relationships are important, authentic relationships are even more important. Again, in this final document of the Synod of the Bishops on Young People, Faith and Vocational Discernment, this is what they had to say. The mission of the young towards their peers when it comes to evangelization. In various contexts, there are groups of young people who actively involve in evangelization of their peers through these ways: transparent life witness, accessible language, and the capacity to establish authentic bonds of friendship. When you look at those areas, you can really say they are all about relationship. Transparent life witness. For you as a youth leader, for you as a leader in the church, you need to have a relationship, as we just talked about, with Jesus. You need to think about, this is your relationship with Jesus, and you're passing that on. We love that classic line, faith is caught, not taught. Yes, you can know about Jesus, but you need to know Jesus. So your transparent life witness, your relationship with Jesus and how you live that out is the way that you evangelize. Secondly, accessible language. That's your relationship with the society at large. That's the way that we relate culturally to the young people that we're talking about, to our friends, to the people that we talk to. We're going to talk about that in my third point. The next part, authentic bonds of friendship. This means your relationships with your friends, with your family, your romantic relationships, the way you treat people. All of this is the way you evangelize young people and your peers. Youth ministry is really about a ministry of presence. In a society where people are busy, parents are busy, families are busy, young people are busy, having someone in your life that's available and there when you need them is an incredible gift. It is like gold in a teenager's life. It's like gold in a young adult's life. And for us, we are called to have these authentic relationships. And this is how you will impact young people in your evangelization to them. There's a quote about positive role models, and it says, teenagers who have positive role models in their lives have greater self-esteem and perform better in school than teenagers without role models in their lives. Positive displays of sportsmanship, determination, drive, and ethics by role models can help teenagers emulate and adopt these positive attributes. We're the role models. We as youth leaders are the role models that they have in their life. We come aside parents, we come aside teachers, aside universities to help the evangelization of this person in their lives. You know, back when I was a youth worker in my very early days, I was about 20 years old. I was a solo youth worker in a parish, and I thought, how am I going to get to know these people? And I literally sat down, I got the parish census book. I found everyone between the ages of like 13 and 18, and I rang them. I rung every single person, whether they still attended the parish or not, that was in the geographic area. I said, hey, my name's Kym, I'm the youth worker, I'm going to be at Mass on Sunday. Do you want to come and have pizza? Hoping that people would turn up, and they did. It was the personal connection of, I thought of you, I saw you. I want to tell you something that again we use in Ignite Youth, and we call it the Odin effect. I'll just show you this picture. Hopefully you can see it. This is a picture of Odin and a bunch of young people that he ministered to. Now, he was the high school coordinator for our high school ministry for about 8 years. He's now a teacher. But these are some people that he journeyed with from the beginning of high school till now. And these guys, this is a picture at our summer camp. And all of these people he journeyed with since they were 12, 13, and now are working alongside him in mission. This is the type of youth worker that we want to be. Someone who, after our evangelization, they become formed and they become apostles with us. They become part of the apostolic mission and join us in reaching out and sharing the good news beside us. That's like the completion of true good evangelization. And so for me, that's an example of what good evangelization and good youth ministry is. On the opposite end, if we aren't authentic in our relationships, it can damage a young person's faith. They get so close to us as youth workers that if we stuff up, they almost want it to be right for us, and they will sometimes abandon their faith in order to be faithful to that youth leader. So I really want to encourage you, authentic relationships is really, really important. Number 3, we need to be culturally relevant and accessible. It's not about what speaks to us, it's about what speaks to them. And again, the popes and the saints and the church speak about this, speak about being culturally relevant. There's so many quotes, but I just want to read you one from Pope Paul VI in 1975 when he wrote Evangelii Nuntiandi, Evangelization in the Modern World. He talks about the kingdom which the gospel proclaims is lived by men who are profoundly linked to a culture. And the building up of the kingdom cannot avoid borrowing the elements of human culture or cultures. Though independent of cultures, the gospel and evangelization are not necessarily incompatible with them. Rather, they are capable of permeating them all. And then he goes on to say the split between the gospel and culture is without a doubt the drama of our time. He wrote that in 1975. We're talking 2020 now. Like, that's pretty prophetic what he was writing then in 1975. Now, Pope Francis came along and wrote The Joy of the Gospel, and he writes, again, how do we do this? Well, an evangelizing community gets involved by word and deed, he says, in people's daily lives. It bridges distances. It's willing to abase itself if necessary. It embraces human life, touching the suffering flesh of Christ in others. Evangelizers, therefore, take on the smell of the sheep, and the sheep are willing to listen to their voice. For me, this is Pope Francis saying you have to be culturally relevant. You have to present the gospel in a way that young people and this culture can hear. Otherwise, we may as well just be going blah, blah, blah. And it's a great message. So we want to make sure that it comes across. So again, for us in Ignite Youth, we work hard on being innovative in making sure what is another way that we can say the gospel in a culturally relevant time. What multimedias can we make? What music can we create? What presentations? What atmosphere? Talking about the real topics, but with truth, not being afraid to speak the truth with love. Again, real evangelization, real world evangelization. Just have a think. What does that look like? What does real world evangelization look like? One of our attempts in Ignite Youth is we run something called Ignite Launch, and it's run at movie worlds. It's run, where do young people like to go? They like to go to theme parks. We have a whole day at movie world, and then we bring them in and we do a night rally. We go very gentle, and it is Evangelization 101. Why would you make Jesus an important part of your life? The great thing is when we're at movie world, it's all about superheroes, so you can kind of, link Jesus into actually he's the ultimate superhero, and why would you say no to him? So a couple of tips. How can we be a church that is evangelizing in current culture? Think about these things. Modern technology and media. Use it to our advantage instead of resisting it as an evil. You can reach lots of people this way, but you have to be really clever, really wise, really prudent. Make sure you follow all the guidelines, but use it as a tool. Secondly, if they already have this consumer mindset, let's go with what the gospel says, or what the Bible says in 1 Peter 3:15. It says, be ready to give an answer to those who ask you for the hope that you have. So if they're like, okay, well, why do you make Jesus an important part of your life? Be ready with the answer. Tell them your story. We are in sexual chaos. There is crazy stories out there. So many young people and teenagers are believing incredible lies about this area of their life. It is our role to be informed about the beauty of the church's teaching on sexuality and be able to share it in a grace-filled way. That is the key there. We need to lower our power, control, rigidity levels if you're part of the problem. Be a living witness instead. And lastly, young people are searching for the real. They are searching for something that is real and true. And Jesus is the real. He is the answer that they're looking for. We just have to get past the people, just like the friends of the crippled man did, lower them through the roof and let them encounter him. Let Jesus touch them and they will be healed. This is the goal of the church. This is how we can be all that we're created to be. So that's the end of the session. I really encourage you to just have a think about these areas. Have a think about how you include these in your own youth ministry and even in your own personal life. Think about your life witness, your authentic relationships, and how you can be the best witness you possibly can. Think about your ways of doing youth ministry, and think about Encounter. Think about those authentic relationships and reaching out to young people and being culturally accessible. God bless you in your youth ministry, and we'll see you soon.